Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys another guide video. Today we are going to be talking about how to use the new legendary Pokemon OKIDOGI from the Teal Mask DLC. If you guys do enjoy these types of guide videos and you want to see more of them on the channel, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe if you're new. We're on our way to 3,000 subs, and if everybody who watches this today subbed, we could get there today, and I'd really appreciate if you help me reach my end of the year goal of 3K. And yeah, with that being said, today's video is going to be pretty simple. We're going to go over its stats, its move pool, some sets you might be able to run, and some partner Pokemon that might pair alongside, you know, our friend right here. So with that being said, we can go ahead and jump on into the stats. So OKIDOGI is a poison and fighting type. It is rocking out with 88 HP, 128 attack, 115 defense, 58 special attack, 86 special defense, and 80 speed. This is a bulky, strong, physical attacker. Now, the special defense is a bit mediocre, but really, honestly, 88 HP and 86 special defense isn't that bad at all. 128 attack is going to be the main standout out of all of these stats, and 115 defense is also very, very solid. 80 speed is also great for a Pokemon as bulky as this, and as bulky looking as this. I really did expect this thing to be a lot slower. The special attack leaves some to be desired, but honestly, I'd much rather have the extreme high 1 attack and then a bad other attack stat and the rest of my stats be good than be more evenly distributed and kind of get power crept out of the meta. Now, this thing has access to 2 abilities. Its first ability being one that it shares with all 3 of the trio that it's in, and Toxic Chain, which gives it a chance to badly poison a Pokemon upon clicking an attack, which is incredible, right? Now, we aren't sure how this kind of stacks up percentage wise just yet. I'm recording this the day or the night that the DLC drops, so I'm not 100% sure on the chances. If I had to guess, it's probably a 30% like poison touch, but even if it's less, it's honestly a better poison touch, because if I can attack you and badly poison you just for attacking, not even having to make contact, that's a pretty incredible skill to have on a Pokemon. It makes it very annoying to switch into for so many things, especially on a pure fighting type like OKIDOGI that is going to massacre those steel types that would be immune to poison, and it's not really going to care too much about opposing poison types with its coverage as well as its own defensive typing. So honestly, this Pokemon is really scary and really solid against a lot of things. Its second ability is also very useful, and it's this pretty cool one too. It's going to be Guard Dog, and going to this, I was like, is this a new ability for OKIDOGI, you know, the dog Pokemon? But it's actually an ability that Mabostiff has and doesn't typically use. What Guard Dog does is it makes a Pokemon immune to Intimidate, and when it's intimidated, it gets a +1 attack, and it also cannot be forced to switch out. So you can't get Roared, Whirlwind, or whatever, and you get like a little mini Defiant boost when you do get intimidated. It's not Defiant. If it was Defiant, it's kind of a better ability, but Guard Dog is so cool, and it makes thematic sense. This also means to where Pokemon like Land or Staria, they're not going to want to switch into you, because you can blow them up with a +1 Ice Punch, or, you know, knock them off for a ton of damage, or even hit them with a Close Combat or Gunk Shot and get a badly poison on them and just, you know, have them in for a pretty tough time. Like, it's really not fun to switch into a Pokemon with this stat spread, this dual stab, and those 2 abilities. It's going to be very difficult to switch into this Pokemon overall. Now, let's go ahead. We can talk a little bit about the move pool. We start off with some offensive moves, mostly stab options right here. We have 2 very strong options in Close Combat and Gunk Shot. And again, coming off of that, what is it, 128? Yeah, 128 attack stat. Dude, this is going to be very tough to switch into. You have more reliable options as well. Drain Punch, which doesn't have the drawbacks of the -1 in your defenses and gives you a little bit of recovery. And Poison Jab, which is weaker than Gunk Shot, but doesn't ever miss, which is obviously very valuable in itself. We also have some more coverage. We have the Elemental Punches in Fire, Ice, and Thunder Punch. This is going to be great, especially in like a Draft League setting, which is mostly what I focus on this channel. Draft League and singles in particular as well. But having that extra coverage is always going to be a good thing. Then having access to high horsepower. Unless I'm blind, I didn't see access to Earthquake on this thing. But high horsepower is just a little bit weaker and can miss, so obviously a worse move than Earthquake, but like still very strong, and it hits those opposing poison types, which would wall your dual stab up to now. So I really like that aspect of it, giving it solid coverage for that. I think you're actually going to see high horsepower on this Pokemon a lot. Something I did forget to mention too, that it does get in its moves, that's very important to mention, is the addition of knockoff as well. I think I just ran out of moves in like room and stuff like that, but getting access to knockoff is one great coverage for those bulky psychic types, that might want to come in and blow you up with a psychic because you're 4 times weak to it. Or just removing items and chipping things down, maybe getting that, toxic thread, poison, or toxic chain, poison, could be really, really clutch, and knockoff is typically no drawback in most instances, so getting that as a coverage option is absolutely incredible on a Pokemon like this. And we have some more, utility moves. We have things like Bulk Up, so we can set up and win with Bulk Up. We have Toxic as a poison type, and that Toxic cannot miss. We have Taunt to really bully fat, and then we have even Roar to phase things, which I think is a really interesting aspect of this Pokemon. Remember, it's very bulky. That HP plus Fizz Def is great, and also, that Spit F isn't terrible, right? It's really not that bad. So Roar could actually potentially be a pretty cool thing on this. Again, maybe a more so like a draft league setting. You're probably not going to see physically defensive or especially defensive Okidogis on the ladder. But you might see them in a draft setting where, this thing's natural typing checks XYZ Mon, and you can roar it out and stop it from setting up and winning the game. So, yeah, an anti-setup is always just going to be a good thing in the generation ruled by Terra on things like that. Now, I do want to go ahead. Actually, another move I want to mention too is Body Press, which is a great move on a Pokemon that's fighting type with such high defense stat. Okay, now we're going to talk about some sets and some ideas I have for this Pokemon. First up is just going to be a choice band set. Now, realistically, you can go with either ability. I think that Toxic Chain is a little bit better, but Guard Dog is still okay. Again, maybe you're playing draft and you're going against an Intim Pokemon that switches into you, like Landorus. Then you might want to go Guard Dog. But I think in the sense of like a standard metagame where you're playing, accounting for a million different things opposed to just, 10 to 11. In a draft league setting, I think that Toxic Chain is just going to be better in that regard, because we can click these ridiculously strong Choice Band, Close Combat, Gunk Shot, Knockoff, and High Horsepowers, and potentially get a poison on something, or a toxic poison, which is just absolutely incredible. I have the same idea for a Choice Scarf set. That speed tier leaves a bit to be desired in that base 80, and I think that's one of the biggest weaknesses of this Pokemon, but this actually allows you to function as a decent revenge killer, outspeeding a lot of really fast threats with your Choice Scarf and probably blowing them up with your really strong high base power moves. We also have an Assault Vest here with Okidogi. This time we're swapping out Close Combat for Drain Punch just to get a little bit of recovery back. The EVs aren't specific, but I'm sure that you can kind of swap these around depending on what you're trying to take hits from. But this is going to allow this thing to take special and physical hits decently well while still being very strong and a big threat offensively. So I do really like this set. Then, lastly, I have a Leftovers variant. This is going to be Drain Punch, Gunk Shot, Bulk Up, and then either Protect or Knockoff, depending on what you want to roll with. Again, EVs can tweak. You can be a max HP variant instead, so you can take the hits that you want to take a little bit better, but regardless, I think a Bulk Up set could be pretty solid with how bulky this thing is. When it comes to Terra typings, I think that Terra Dark is an incredible typing on this thing because, one, it powers up those knockoffs to the nth degree, but two, it allows it to be immune to Psychic, which is really clutch, and those boosted up powerful knockoffs might let you break through that poison that you typically need, high horsepower for. Speaking of high horsepower, though, goodness gracious, I think that Terra Ground is also a very viable option. Then you can even go Terra Fighting, Terra Poison as just like really strong stab options, but I personally do think that Terra Dark and Terra Ground are your best two typings for Okidogi here. Now, when it comes to potential partners for this Pokemon, there's really a lot of things that work really well with it. The Pokemon that came into mind for me in particular first was going to be Dragapult. That might be the Draft League player in me, but I think Dragapult plus Okidogi is a really solid core. Pult loves having offensive fighting, so it can break down those normals and those darks for it. It also really appreciates having either a strong poison or steel in order to break down fairies, and that's what Okidogi does. And Okidogi is going to really appreciate getting brought in for free, so it can click buttons. Another thing it'll really appreciate is hazards, and I think a really good hazard setter in this regard is going to be something like the Glimmora. As Glimmora also forces in steel types, which Okidogi is going to Massacre. Good offensive darks are also going to kind of be similar here. Something like a King Gambit could be very, very solid. Good offensive dark that pivots into psychics and does a ton of damage, and then Okidogi is going to check a lot of its checks. Corviknight is a really, really solid, slow, bulky pivot that is going to resist psychic, grab for U-turns, and get an Okidogi for free. And then if you're playing in like a draft league format, Chien-Pao kind of synergizes with it well offensively. Not kind of, it does incredibly well. So that's a really cool option for it as well. But that's more so in a draft league setting, like I said. Probably not going to be using Chien-Pao and Smogon anytime soon unless they decide to resuspect it. But yeah, with that being said, let me know what you guys think of Okidogi. Is this the one you're most excited about? And please let me know in the comments tomorrow which Pokemon you want me to cover next out of all of the new Pokemon. I plan on doing guides for all of them, so I'm going to go, based on what you guys want to see. And we'll go from there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Sub if you're new. Again, we'll get to 3,000 if you just drop a sub and help me out. And yeah, with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Later.